Good evening to everyone present this evening, members of the Commission. I'm Chuck Sheehan, Chairman of the Town of Stonington Planning and Zoning Commission. This is the May 7th special meeting. Let the record reflect that it was called to order at 7 p.m. exactly. We're missing two regular members tonight, Lynn Conway, and we had one resignation, Andy Meek. Before I appoint alternates, I just want to say that I'm disappointed Andy resigned. He did so for his own personal reasons, but he was a highly valued member of this team, and he made a lot of wonderful contributions to the process and the discussion, and I think I speak for all of us when I say that he'll be sorely missed. So I wish Andy well in his future endeavors, and hope that he comes back to see us and makes contributions in other ways, because he is an exceptional young man, and he will be missed. Having said that, in place of Lynn Conway this evening, Ben Philbrick, one of our alternates, will fill in. And in place of Andy, Bennett Brissett will be seated this evening. Next item on the agenda is minutes. What's the Commission's pleasure on April 2nd, number 1753?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes as written and submitted for meeting number 1753 from April 2nd, 2024.
Thank you, Ryan. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Minutes number 1754 for April 3rd.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for number 1754 from April 3rd, 2024 as written and submitted.
Thank you, Ryan. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you, Gary. Motion is made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Number 1755 for April 10th.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for meeting number 1755 from April 10th, 2024 as written and submitted. To note, I will abstain from voting on that as I was not present for that meeting.
Thank you, Ryan. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you, Gary. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Number 1756, April 24th.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from meeting number 1756 from April 24th, 2024 as written and submitted, with one correction. To note, I was not present for that meeting and I will abstain.
Thank you, Ryan. A motion has been made to approve. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you again, Gary. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is public comment. It's an opportunity for those in the audience that wish to speak on an issue. They can come up and take the mic. Simply identify yourself and your address, and if you can keep your statement as brief as possible, that would be appreciated. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to correspondence. Anything of note? Clifton?
Nothing to share.
Nothing to share under correspondence. Reports, staff? No reports. I have nothing from the chair or anyone else for the good of the order or under commission?
No.
Hearing none, we move to zoning enforcement and violations. Nothing of note there. Brings us to administrative review quickly to this point. The first item on the agenda is Volta Charging LLC, administrative review for the installation of 2 electric vehicle charging stations in the parking lot located at 91 Voluntown Road. Normally Lynn would read this, but I'll do the honors tonight. Map number, block lot number 18-133. The property is located in an HI 60 zone. Is there someone here to represent Volta Charging LLC? If you'd introduce yourself, please, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. My name is Neil Alexander. I'm a partner in the law firm of Cuddy and Fader here tonight on behalf of Volta Charging. I know you have a staff reviews, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but essentially Volta Charging is looking to just swap out 2 of the existing parking spaces, keep them as parking spaces, but add electric EV charging stations to them. They're only difference between them and some of the others you may have seen in your travels is that there is a kiosk that involves display. which allows for low-cost charging in exchange for that messaging. The messaging is only from, basically, it's a small display. You won't be able to see it off-site. You won't be able to see it other than really close to the door where the parking spaces are for the Stop and Shop.
Where's the primary voltage coming in from?
That's a great question. Hold on one second. I gotta look at the drawings again. I believe it's coming from the Stop and Shop and routed from the existing Stop and Shop. I think if you look at...
So the switchgear and the transformers are already present someplace?
So as an attorney, I'm looking through the drawings just to confirm, but I think you are correct.
Okay.
Just give me a second to look. I'm looking at
While you're thinking about that, and does this create any sort of nonconformity because it's displacing 2 parking spaces?
So it actually is not displacing. We're using the islands at the front of
perfect.
the parking area. So
Okay.
it's a tiny little bit of landscaping of grass or fescue is being lost.
And just to confirm, it is coming from the Stop and Shop. There's already conduit present.
Okay, thank you.
You just can't read it on the...
Okay, so we have an
small-
answer to the question,
small
thank
print.
you. Any further details in the presentation?
No, thank you very much.
Okay, anyone from the commission have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
I just have one. Do you know, are they the same stations that they have in Narragansett, Stop and Shop? Are they?
I think they might be. Basically, Volta has anchor tenants throughout the country, and Stop and Shop is one of the big supermarkets. If you think about the business model, right, it's where do you park for a fair enough amount of time. Supermarketing is one place you spend a fair amount of time other than your home or your office.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ben, you had one? No? No one else? What's the commission's pleasure on, any comments from the staff?
None.
No comments from the staff. What's the commission's pleasure on administrative item 1 for Volta Charging?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the application as written submitted for voltage charging.
Okay. Were there any conditions at all on that? I'm trying to get to
I did not see any.
None?
None.
Okay. Motion's been made to approve Volta Charging as submitted. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you both. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Item 2, application number 24-075ZON, EG Home LLC, administrative review for the modification of existing grading on approved detention basin located at 47 Mary Hall Road. Map block lot number 7-144B. Property is located in the RA20 zone. Evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, members of the staff. Bill Fries from BL Companies, offices in Meriden and Hartford, Connecticut. And I'm here to just discuss the minor modification. As previously approved a couple of years back, part of the condition of approval, we were asked to do some testing in the basin as we started to build them. And in the area in blue is the subjected area that we're here to speak on tonight. The front basin, when we did some testing, we found that the groundwater was slightly higher than expected, so it was roughly 2 feet higher. And so in order to get a separation distance from the bottom of the basin to the existing groundwater, we had to raise the basin slightly in that area, so which resulted in some minor grading changes and also the basin change. And that's pretty much the subject of being here tonight. We did receive some comments from the town engineer today, actually, and we addressed them in an email. So there was nothing there that we couldn't address, and we've been sharing drainage computations with him, and it seems to be in order. We were going to submit final drawings after tonight's meeting, just so that we can take into account any changes or comments that you may all have. So,
Does the discharge remain the same? The water surface profile and discharge, outlet discharges are the same?
yes, we had to minor modifications to the elevations to the outlet structure just to accommodate the raise in grades. And what we also did was incorporated a swale now along the side of the main drive with stone check dams. The swale will take in most of the stormwater coming off of the road, starting at the high point. But yeah, the discharge point will still be down to the main basin, where the swale now will empty into the basin and then still discharge out roughly in this location right here.
Is the swale lined?
It will be, yep, we're using it's gonna be a grass swale with stone check dams, and then we're gonna put a mat, like an erosion control mat in there, a permanent mat to grow and stabilize.
It looks very steep, it would seem to me. I don't see the check dams on the plan that we have here, but it would still seem to me that in between the check dams, you'd get some substantial velocities.
Yes, so the town engineer asked us to put 2 check dams in. We actually put in check dams every 25 feet. We thought that would be more sufficient. So it increased the numbers from 2 to roughly 17 total. So there is quite a bit there to slow down the velocities.
Do you know what the velocity is by any chance? Because a grass swale is not going to withstand any significant velocity, as I'm sure you know.
Sure, and that's why we're putting the armor mat in with the check dams, and then also, you know, that'll accommodate for the.
Okay, so I'm not familiar with the armor mat. Can you explain what the cross-section looks like?
Yeah, it's a North American green mat. So you put the mat down while you seed, and it allows for everything to stay in place. So if you look at slopes, it's almost like a grid, like a grid you put in, and then you seed and loom, and it keeps it in place until it stabilizes, and then it stays in place permanently. So the grass will grow through it. It's almost like a mesh mat.
So it's still a grass. It's still a grass swale.
It's still a grass swale, yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
How thick is the mat, if I can ask?
It's usually like a 1/4 inch or a little bit more, but it's a permanent mat that's staked in. It has hard stakes. There's several different mats you could use out there. There's some that biodegrade, but we felt that a harder surface mat is more suitable for this application.
Is it a 10% grade?
It's
Looks steeper than that, actually.
yeah, it's a little less than 10% actually in the swale. The drive is probably roughly 10.
Not
you know,
roughly,
in the
it's
steepest
exactly 10.
spots. So.
Looks like it's exactly 10%, but, okay, if the town engineer has said it's okay, then I'm not gonna take exception with it, but I have my doubts that something that, with such a narrow base at that kind of a grade is gonna be an issue. So if it has to be revisited, it'd have to be revisited.
Yes, sir. Yep. We can look at stoning it too in the future. We have plenty of stone out there, but like I said, adding the extra check dams, I believe will accommodate that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Were you through with your presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So the storage volume remains the same in the pond. Has the crest of the catch basin, the outlet structure, remained the same?
The outlet structure is slightly raised again,
Okay.
like I said, but we've accommodated running all the stormwater calculations for the 2, 5, 10, 25, 50, and 100-year storm. The 100-year storm, as approved before, has a slight increase, but everything else. And
Is there a primary and a secondary discharge?
Yes, there is. Yep.
What's the primary?
The primary discharge would be orifices in the outlet structure.
Okay, in the catch basin itself?
Yes, sir. Yep. And then there's a grate at the top, and then obviously it's built with an emergency spillway as approved. So the basin's pretty much in the same location as approved. It's just lifted
So it's just
roughly 2
a
feet.
cord hole in the precast structure?
Correct.
Okay. All right, I have no further questions. Anyone else have any questions of the applicant?
Just as an uninitiated, when you say that the stop dams,
Check dams, yeah.
check dams, I have a vision of what that is, but would you describe that for me?
Basically what they are is they're usually made of riprap and, crushed stone that's larger in diameter. They go across and they act like a weir. It builds up behind it and then spills over and it kills the energy head, the velocity head of the water, and it slows it down dramatically. It's frequently used on steep channels, but channels this steep are normally are lined somehow to protect erosion with something other than grass. So maybe we put a condition that it be reviewed after a year before the performance bond period is up for adequacy and revisited if possible.
Good idea. Sure. Thank you.
Anyone else? What's your pleasure on administrative item number 2 for EG Homes LLC?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the application as submitted with the one stipulation that the erosion concern that you had be reviewed in 1 year.
Okay.
And prior to the expiry of the bond.
I heard him say that the town engineer had made comments today. Were there any other conditions recommended by the town engineer?
There are a few items just to update on the plan set, which were answered through the presentation.
So if you could
Nothing
incorporate...
else added as terms of stipulation, no.
Okay, no other stipulated conditions. Okay, not necessary to mention it then.
Okay.
Thank you, Ryan. A motion to approve with one stipulation on the maintenance bond that the channel be reviewed for adequacy. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Gary. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Appears to be unanimous. Item 3, Town of Stonington. Thank you, sir. Town of Stonington, application number 24076Z0N. Administrative review for the installation of an 8x8 storage shed at Spellman Park located at South Broad Street, Pawcatuck, MAC lot number 25-119-3. Property is located in an RR80 zone. Evening, sir.
How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Good. My name
Yourself?
is Richard Ward. I'm the Recreation Administrator here for the Town of Stonington, and I'm also a River Road resident.
Welcome.
I'm here to get permission to install one of the prefabbed sheds, 8x8, to help us with our storage problems and issues that we have at the tennis courts. They're currently everything's being stored in various trunks, car trunks, and dugouts of the softball field and so forth, so we want to be able to consolidate the equipment into one area right near our tennis courts.
Okay. Pretty straightforward. Is the color going to be red as pictured in the application?
I believe that is going to be, I think we do have some choices and preference on colors.
Okay.
I'm not 100%, but I'd be happy to take that back and ask for a request of a certain color if you want me to.
I just personally, rather than draw attention to it, I think an earth tone would perhaps be more appropriate, but I'm not an architect or even a design review guy. My wife frequently reminds me of that. So
That happened to be the one that was in their parking lot the day that I was there.
There you go. Just a suggestion.
Thank
Does anyone have any questions of the applicant on this matter?
I was curious, and maybe it's more for staff. Why is this in front of us?
Yeah. I was going to ask that one.
Basically because of the size and the location. Yep.
Oh, okay.
But yes, I've asked this question internally as well.
No questions for the applicant.
No questions for the applicant. Any comments from staff?
I didn't have any comments on this application.
Okay. No comments. Anyone else with questions? Hearing none, what's the commission's pleasure on the application for the shed for the town of Stonington?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the application as submitted for the town of Stonington.
Motion made by Ryan. Thank you, Ryan, to approve. Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you, Gary. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, under old business. First item is application number PZ2405CAM by K. McGrath, J. Bernardo representing. Coastal Area Management Review for demolition and construction of a new single-family residence. Property is located at 29 Roseleah Drive, Mystic. Properties in an RC 120 zone. Good evening, sir.
Hi there. I think this is my first time in front of this commission.
Welcome.
My name is Jim Bernardo. I'm a surveyor here in Connecticut as well as Rhode Island. What I have in front of you tonight is a revised plan. Staff had asked me to bring copies for each one of the commission members. Unfortunately, I brought one, and the other 6 are sitting on my printer in my office, so I will, but you have an email of this, so it should be in your files. In addition, just late this afternoon, we received Ledgelight Health District approval, so I brought I did forward the email, but I believe it was about 5 o'clock, so I brought a copy of that just in case. So this is a property located at 29 Roseleah Drive. There's already an existing cottage located on the property that's going to be demolished. This is in the VE 14 zone, zone RC 120. The applicant received several variants, not this particular, but the previous owner actually received several variances back in 2006 for some of the setback requirements. And they also had received CAM approval at that time, but they just did not build the house. And since then, the CAM has expired, so that's why we're here in front of you tonight for a new CAM application. Surrounded by residential properties on either side as well as across the street. Again, this is in a VE 14 zone. We provided a full set of design and architectural plans to staff. This will be an elevated building with a finished floor of 16. The lowest the lowest horizontal structural member will be at elevation 15, so it's 1 foot above the BFE to comply with FEMA requirements. The engineer has designed the lower area for storage only with breakaway panels and all that, as well as flood vents, and all that has been provided on the design plans to staff to bring this new construction in compliance with the latest FEMA regulations. Was that a throat clearing or a question? I thought I heard someone with a question. Okay. It's served by public water and on-site septic. As I said, I did drop off a report from Ledgelight Health District. They did approve the B100A compliance. There was a repair done on this property several years ago with a Mantis type system that was installed, and so that meets the current requirements as well. There's no waivers going to be required for this. The memo that was prepared by staff included some comments from the town engineer, very minor comments, as well as some staff review comments, which obviously we will comply with on a set of revised plans, and if that was approved by the commission as stipulations. Quickly, again, this is a CAM zone. Some of the coastal resources on or adjacent are general coastal resources, which is basically everything in a CAM zone. Coastal hazard area, which is your FEMA flood zone, as well as coastal waters and estuarine embayments. Shellfish concentration areas are adjacent, and tidal wetlands. This would fall under the coastal use policies of a general development. The rest of those typically under coastal use policies are boating and fisheries, things of that nature. You know, as you know, the CAM encourages water-dependent usages in coastal area zones. Quick look of your RC 120 zoning regulations. Permitted uses by right are single-family homes. The only ones that would classify as water-dependent would be under a special permit. You do allow boating facilities as well as yachting facilities. Again, this is surrounded by other residential properties, and it's existing residential, so we feel it complies with the goals of the CAM zone. We don't anticipate any adverse impacts to any of the CAM resources. We have sedimentation and erosion control specified around the perimeter of the property, which will be maintained while the property is under construction, and then just until everything is stabilized on the site. We've shown a set of sedimentation fence or silt fence around the entire perimeter. This portion of the property closest to the wetlands is actually not going to be disturbed. This is where the existing leaching system is, and the owner has some like a fire pit and a bunch of cooking areas out there. None of that will be disturbed. And I think And that is pretty much what I have for you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is there any question about whether the lowest horizontal member in the framing system will, the bottom of it will be above 15.0 NAVD 88?
What's your question again?
Well, one of the comments from SLR, our floodplain consultant, was that the lowest horizontal members in the structure have to be above elevation 15.
That's correct. And
Yeah.
the lowest horizontal member is right now designed for 15. And I understand the town is in the process of reviewing that and may raise that, correct? Your DFE?
That wouldn't apply to this. That's part of
No.
the zoning rewrite.
So it is at 15?
It is at 15, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, and is there some question, I guess this question's for staff, is there some question as to whether the variance that was granted on this property is adequate? That's also in the SLR report?
I noticed that in the comments as well. That's the first time I've seen that, so I'm rather curious
I'm
myself.
sorry, I'm not trying to surprise you at all.
No, I just read the report today because I just got it this week, and I
No.
was kind of surprised myself.
When I ran through that with Candy, she, the zoning enforcement officer, she didn't think that.
So it's adequate?
Yeah, it's adequate.
Okay.
She didn't think a new one was required.
Fine, thank you. I have no further questions of the applicant. Does anyone else on the commission have any questions of this applicant?
Yes, I know this won't pertain to your building, but there was one down the road from this new construction that had difficulty measuring their final elevation. So if there's any way to guarantee you're 15 feet above that, before any other construction keeps on going, it would be nice to have that verified with Candy or a building official, so you don't come back for a ZBA asking forgiveness. I know it's nothing to do with you, but I just
Some municipalities, Waterford and New London in particular, they do require a foundation certification, so that might be appropriate for this. And again, we can verify that the foundation meets the setbacks from zoning, and it's put in the right location,
Yep.
and also provide information. We did provide what they call a pre-construction elevation certificate that was provided as part of the CAM application. We can do that for the foundation when it's completed, or we can just provide certification that it's at the proper
You
elevation.
can add a condition
That would be
Yeah.
reasonable.
that the foundation
Yeah,
The
that'd be
foundation elevation be staked out and certified as-built plan be filed before the superstructure
If
is
that's all
started.
right, yeah, that'd be great.
And that would, if you stipulate that in the motion, then I think you have a reasonable assurance that if you know exactly what the top of foundation elevation is,
Right.
you know exactly what the bottom of the lowest member is.
Yeah.
Thank you. Then, was there ever comment from the fire district marshal?
No, there wasn't.
No.
Thank you. No further questions.
Anyone else have any questions? This applicant? Hearing none, what's the commission's pleasure on the application of K. McGrath?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the application as submitted with the following stipulations. There'll be a total of 5. Number 1, the applicant shall address any outstanding comments received by legislative health district and/or fire district marshal as applicable. Number 2, the applicant shall address the outstanding comments to satisfaction of the town engineer and town planner. Number 3, final plan shall be reviewed to satisfaction of the town engineer. Number 4, prior to the issuance of the zoning permit, final plan shall be signed by the commission and reported to the town's land evidence record. And number 5, that a foundation elevation certificate will be obtained and certified prior to the construction of the
Superstructure.
superstructure.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Motion with 5 stipulations has been made. Is there a second? Seconded by Gary. Thank you, Gary. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Chair votes aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bernardo. Second item under old business B, application of H. Spanos, H&H Engineering Associates LLC, care of Seamus Moran, P.E., Coastal Area Management Review for construction of a single-family residence, detached garage, and associated site improvements. Properties located at 68 Masons Island Road, Mystic. Properties located in the MC80 zone. Evening, sir.
new easel is on my to-do list, I promise. Good evening, thank you for having me. My name is Seamus Moran, a professional engineer in Connecticut. I work for H&H Engineering Associates, and I am representing the applicant, Harry Spanos, for his project at 68 Masons Island Road here in Mystic. 68 Masons Island Road is just south of the YMCA. If you see the location map up here, I'm sure you know where the YMCA is. There's a couple properties south of the YMCA along Masons Island Road, on the west side of Masons Island Road, and it abuts the Mystic Harbor. We are here, of course, for a CAM application for the construction of a new single-family residence and detached garage. We also had to submit to Ledgelight Health District for health approval, which we did, and we received that approval. And we also will need to submit a zoning permit application to the town, and also a building permit for the residence. Prior to this application, back in 2020, there was a ZBA approval for the site to allow the removal of the pre-existing building and the construction of a new single-family home and a new detached garage. That was approved in 2020, I think it was June of 2020, and it reduced the coastal jurisdiction setbacks. That property owner is no longer the property owner. Harry Spanos is the new property owner. He wants a new type of building. So we are here with the new residence that fits within that ZBA approval. So it will be a zoning permit based on the previous ZBA variances, but we are here for the CAM application for the new building. The existing conditions of the site that you see here before you, most of this is actually pre-existing. If you go out to the site right now, the prior residence was removed. It was a 4-bedroom home located in this location here in the center of the site. There was a detached, almost a 2.5-car garage. It was a normal 2-bay garage and another bay for an RTV or like a tractor of some sort. And there's an existing dock on the western portion of the property on Mystic Harbor that remains, and you'll see that you're proposing to keep that in place. What we're looking to do is, as I mentioned, the existing home and the garage were removed already. So we are looking to construct a new single-family home in generally this similar location as the pre-existing home. We're in the flood zone AE, elevation 12. The building will be constructed, I should say it's the coastal AE zone 12, which means the building has to conform to the zone requirements, which it will, and the architect is preparing his design plans to conform to that, and that will be submitted as part of the building permit application. The building first floor elevation will be 14.5, meaning the underside of the joist will be 13.5, with flood zone elevation 12. We're up to 13 to the lowest horizontal member, so we have about 6 inches of play between the lowest elevation of the horizontal member and that base flood elevation plus 1 foot. We are proposing to remove the pre-existing or the existing paved driveway and replace that with a crushed stone driveway. The garage, we're also proposing a 3-bay garage, same location as the prior 3-bay garage. And one significant improvement, another, I guess, significant improvement is the septic system, which is currently waterward of the pre-existing dwelling within, say, 50 feet or so of the coastal jurisdiction line. There was a septic tank and a pump chamber in that location behind the building. We're removing the septic tank and the pump chamber, relocating the septic tank to the front of the building, more than 100, I think it's about 120 feet from the coastal jurisdiction line. And that will be routed to a new leaching system, a geomatrix GST system, which is in the very furthest portion of the property, away from the coastal jurisdiction line, about 150 feet from the CJL. Again, that was approved by the health department with a condition that confirmatory test bit has to be completed prior to the installation. Let's see, what else do I have here? The building is reducing the prior approval, the prior variances across the board. The front yard setback is being reduced, the side yard setback is being reduced, and it's not a variance, but the floor area is also being reduced. So where 25% is allowed, I think we're at 12.7%. There were some review comments we received on Friday. I hope that the commission received those. I can go over those very quickly. I won't go over word for word verbatim what they said, but I'll just go down the list. The building official had no comments yet. I'm sure those comments will be forthcoming after the building permit is submitted. The town engineer, CLA, did not have any comments. The town engineer mentioned that he would like us to implement some best management practices to capture and infiltrate the 1-inch storm event. He mentioned in his notes that he would like that to be a condition of any motion, that he could sign off on that prior to any construction activities. That is something I would actually like to talk to him about, because candidly, I think what we're doing by reducing the impervious coverage is its own best management practice, and I'm a little bit worried, I'm a little bit hesitant to install any structures or grain gardens within that coastal zone, down by the water. So that's something I'll discuss with him. Whether or not we put it in, it will be up to his discretion, but I think that is a simple condition. The floodplain manager, SLR, had 2 comments, essentially. He noted that the building must conform to VE requirements, which we understand, and that it will. And the other one was the placement of compacted fill in the driveway limits. As I mentioned, the crushed stone driveway, for the most part, is in the same location as the pre-existing paved driveway, with a little extension of crushed stone drive that was not previously paved. I think that's the area he's referring to, so we can just modify the driveway to cut that back, so we're not adding crushed stone or compacted fill in that location, and that should satisfy that comment. Ledgelight Health District, as I mentioned, approved it with the condition of a confirmatory test pit must be completed prior to installation. WPCA was no comments. ZEO had no comments. The Fire District had no comments. Fire District, no comments were received. The Connecticut DEP, similar, building must conform to VE requirements. Of course we will. And they mentioned that the septic system extends into a portion of the AE zone. As I mentioned, we're locating the septic as far away from the coastal jurisdiction line in the most remote part of the property as we can, but there is just a little sliver of that septic system in the flood zone, but we don't think it's an issue. It's the furthest point from the coastal jurisdiction line, and it's landward of any of the buildings, so we don't foresee that being an issue. The last 2 are town planner. There were no concerns with the proposed application, and there were 3 recommended conditions of approval noted in those in that referral. But before we get into that, I'm happy to. I think that's it for me, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions from the commission on this application? I have a couple. This, like the last application, it stipulates that the minimum horizontal structural member elevation should be at elevation 13. And it indicates that although it's probable that it is, it has to be verified. Sure. So can you verify that?
The architectural plans would show what the lowest horizontal member is on that. I didn't print the architectural plans off with me, unfortunately.
Okay. That's in the SLR report, in the findings, and it says that the bottom of the lowest horizontal structural member shall be 1 foot above the BFE, base flood elevation, or 13.0 NAVD. In this case, first floor elevation is 14.5, so it's very likely that that bottom of that structural member is above that, but it's recommending that it be verified. Similar to the last application, it probably is above it on the plans, but getting it that way on the ground is another challenge. We probably should stipulate the same stipulation that the foundation be staked out by qualified personnel, and that the as-built elevation of the top of foundation be certified before the superstructure work can begin.
Of course, that makes sense.
You agree with that stipulation?
Yes, I agree, yes.
Okay. Fine. I think that takes care of the entire condition. Yep. You may want to make sure that you note with the building official that the architectural plans show that the lowest elevation of the bottom of the lowest horizontal member is at elevation 13, because that'll hold up a building permit if it's not.
Perfect.
I have no further questions. Hearing that there are none, any staff comments?
I didn't have any comments.
No comments from staff. What's the commission's pleasure on Town of Stonington, I'm sorry, on the application of this applicant?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the application
H. Spanos.
following, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the application as submitted with the following stipulations. One, the applicant shall address the outstanding comments to the satisfaction of the town engineer. Two, final plan shall be reviewed to the satisfaction of the town engineer. Three, prior to the issuance of a zoning permit, the final plan shall be signed by the commission and recorded in the town's land evidence records. And number four, that the foundation shall be certified and that the horizontal elevation shall be a minimum of 13 feet and certified prior to the building of the superstructure.
Thank you, Ryan. Motion has been made to approve with conditions that have been stipulated by Ryan. Is there a second?
Second motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you, Gary. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Appears it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
On to public hearings. Clifton, do we have to read the legal notice, or can I simply read the notice in the?
I have the notice.
Oh, you do have a,
Sure.
We,
if you need me
we
to.
still have one
Excellent.
more, we still have one more
Yeah, I thought we
old
had one more.
business.
I'm sorry, Town of Stonington. Town of Stonington, I apologize. Town of Stonington, item C. Application in a coastal area management review for municipal road maintenance and improvements, including associated roadways, sidewalks, and drainage. Property include rights-of-ways of Washington Street and School Street in Mystic. CLA Engineers, Inc., care of Bob DeLuca, P.E. Evening, sir.
Evening. I'm not Bob DeLuca. My name's Darren Hayward. I'm standing in for Bob DeLuca. I do work for CLA Engineers. I don't have a presentation. It's safe to say that this application is made on behalf of the town of Stonington. They wish to do some rehabilitation work on roadways and sidewalks on sections of two roads down in the Mystic area. First road being School Street between Denison Ave and Broadway Ave, and the second road being Washington Street between Willow Ave and Denison Avenue also. It's a pretty fast-track project, quite high priority. We've been communicated that and should be going to bid as soon as we're designed.
Does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions from the staff?
I didn't have any questions or concerns. This went to the police commission. I attached the memorandum. Their only comment really was to coordinate with the Public Works Department and the Police Department would coordinate with each other in terms of road closures or lane closures as necessary. That's just going to be a scheduling item that naturally happens anyways. In the response summary, there were a couple additional comments from the town engineer that are captured. So I added that as a stipulation. I personally didn't have any comments. Largely the project is rehabilitation of existing roadways. One of the new elements is a sidewalk on Washington Street that's not currently present. So that is the only newer item. Some of the catch basins will be updated, but largely no real changes to the surrounding areas at this time.
Is this work overseen by the town engineer? It is.
Correct, and the Director of Public Works, yes.
And he is the engineer of record for this?
Correct.
So he would know if any...
No, well, CLA is the engineer of record for
They are
this.
the engineer of record.
Correct.
So there's no sediment and erosion control plan required for this? No, you're not stripping an area, have raw slopes in excess of a half an acre?
No, the actual area, the roadway, probably not, because some of it is to be mill and overlaid, so we're not going to be taking that down to erodible soils. There are sections that we will be fully reconstructing, so we will need, the typical inlet sediment control devices on catch basins and silt fence where there's the potential for that to
Okay.
run.
I would just stipulate that if the area is in excess of a half an acre, that at some point in time, the town engineer prepare a sediment and erosion control plan and just place it on record. That would be my only stipulation.
Okay, certainly.
The
any-
ENS items were captured as the town engineer's comments as mentioned, but yeah, so we can add
Okay.
that other.
No, so it's in there already, kind of overall.
No,
As
the
part of the
inlet
stipulation.
protection and silt fence is captured as items to be included on the final plan.
Okay, so that's already part of the stipulation.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions of the applicant? Hearing none, what's the commission's pleasure on the application of the Town of Stonington?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the application as submitted with the following stipulations. One, the applicant shall address the outstanding comments to the satisfaction of the town engineer. Two, final plan shall be reviewed to the satisfaction of the town engineer. And three, prior to the issuance of a zoning permit, the final plan shall be signed by the commission and recorded in the town's land evidence records.
Motion's been made by Ryan with conditions. Is there a second? Thank you, Ryan.
Second motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you, Gary. Any discussion on the motion?
I do have a little bit of, when will this work take place?
I believe late summer.
How late?
I don't know the exact date to be sure.
As late as possible from summer?
That might be a question for the town
After the art
engineer.
festival, maybe? Might be a good idea.
No, I just didn't want to begin like July 4th or something crazy.
Oh, good question. It'd probably be after July 4th,
Okay,
probably.
okay, thank you.
No further stipulations? Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Chair votes aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now on to public hearings. Ryan, if you'd read the
Okay.
legal notice, please.
A public hearing will be held on Tuesday, May 7, 2024, at 7 p.m. at the Stonington Board of Education District Office located at 40 Field Street, Pawcatuck, Connecticut, on the following application. PZ2404CAM K Courier Group LLC, CO Robert Courier, Terenzi and Associates Limited. Special use permit application and coastal area management review for outdoor vendor use. Property is located at 779 Stonington Road, Stonington, M/B/L 75-1-5. Property is located in the GC60 zone. At such hearing, any party may appear in person or be represented by an agent or attorney. Any disabled person requiring auxiliary aids or services for effective communication or access at this hearing should contact Department of Planning at 860-535-5095 at least 24 hours prior to the hearing date.
I see we have Mr. Sherenzia from Sherenzia and Associates to represent the applicant Courier Group. Evening, sir.
Good evening. I'm going to see if I can hook up here and share my screen. For the record, Sergio Terenzia with Terenzia & Associates, offices at 99 Mechanic Street, Pawcatuck, Connecticut. The application before you this evening was prepared by my office in my responsible charge. We both prepared a land survey as well as the engineered site plan. And with me this evening is Bob Courier, owner of the Courier Group and owner of the property. And I think he's got a helper, one of his assistants with him this evening as well. Bob operates Woodfellas Pizza, and he currently owns the property located at 779. I brought that up on the GIS just to familiarize you with the area. The site is located on Stonington Road, Route 1. To the west is the Hounds. I believe it's an event venue. To the east is another commercial building. I believe it's the Stonington Veterinary Services located there. I believe y'all are familiar with Fleming's Feed across the street. Along with there's a residentially zoned and used property as well across the street there. The site here is prior to its current state, did have a couple of buildings on it, 2 residences, and that is depicted. I'm just going to pull up previous survey just to give you some context. This is the survey that I did. One second, please. So there was a survey done June 2019, which depicts the two structures. There was 2 residences there, along with an on-site septic system, an on-site well, and very close you can see, just to the rear here, tidal wetland delineation. In front, there's the gravel drive, which is all within the majority of which is within the state right-of-way, which I will get to in a few to explain what our proposal is there and what we've spoken with the DOT upon. Just to kind of take you through, there was a septic repair done on the site. This dates back to 2006, and it identified the existing workshop and the 2-bedroom home with the septic system and the well. The buildings, go back now to my survey that we recently prepared, and I'll zoom in here, does have this large gravel parking lot area, but the buildings had been torn down when my client purchased the property. There still remains the septic tank and the leaching field, as well as the potable well. Those are currently on site, and we don't know the state of them, if they've been properly abandoned. But as I get into my presentation, you'll see we intend to do so, and hopefully to reutilize the well on the site. As I noted, there's tidal wetlands relatively close to the front of the property, just beyond the gravel drive, and that we had recently flagged by Avizinus and Associates, licensed soil scientist and coastal biologist, and there was a report filed with our application. As you know, we're here for both a CAM, coastal area management application, and a special use permit approval. Go to the proposed site plan. Everything's focused on the front of the lot because the rear, most of this lot is covered by tidal wetlands. We are proposing only development within the area that's already been cleared, developed, and been disturbed. As I noted, a majority of a good portion of the front of the property is within the state right-of-way. As such, Bob has initiated the conversations with Connecticut DOT in obtaining a lease agreement for the use of that portion of the state right-of-way, which we are just going to be using for parking only. The previous owner, in his research, after speaking with some representatives at DOT, identified that there actually was authorization for a lease, but it was never executed with the state. As such, Bob contacted them, and we've applied to Connecticut DOT to get approval. I had a conversation late this morning with one of the representatives from DOT, and she indicated that it's about halfway through the process of review, as it has to be reviewed by 6 departments at the DOT to make sure that they have authorization to lease this portion of land. We are optimistic because it was previously subject to the approval and it's been historically used, and it's an open lot, that we will be successful in obtaining that lease. But the approval this evening obviously is going to be contingent upon getting approval from Connecticut DOT, both for an encroachment permit and a lease to use the space as we've presented. I have sent these plans to DOT. They have made some preliminary comments. They can't make any definitive decisions until this commission acts upon and we receive our town approvals. But we are utilizing the space, same as what it is today, is just an open gravel lot. The parking areas will be delineated with, parking stops so that people know where to park. Obviously, if it's a gravel or a crushed stone lot, we won't be able to paint it, but that will help delineate as people park. We will have ADA spaces that will be ADA compliant firm surface Most likely, and we've done in the past in most lot projects that have a gravel or a crushed stone lot, it's a concrete pad level surface that meets ADA compliance. Mr. Courier is proposing 3 vendor spaces by special use permit. They are allowed to be entertained and approved by this commission as long as they have at least 1,000 square feet of dedicated space for each vendor that's proposed, which we have accommodated, and we're actually in excess of that amount of area. And since these vendor spaces are, rather flexible, there's going to be some additional space where we can have some picnic tables for people to dine, and Bob wants to have space where people can recreate and have, yard games. It's very popular when you have these type of venues. All of the waste produced at the site, the food, they're most likely going to be food trucks or food trailers that are going to utilize these spaces. The 2 in the front, we're proposing a concrete pad, so those will be dedicated, and then in the back, there's more of a flexible space for a third, should Bob decide that he wants to have an additional vendor. We'll be able to have up to 3, but he's going to be, and he can speak to this, but in our conversations, he's going to be there as a pop-up. Not every day. Bob runs his commissary and restaurant in New London. That's his main base. And the food truck he takes around for recreation, for events, and take it down to Electric Boat for lunches, that kind of thing. And then during his off time, he'll be able to pop up here and to have certain days where he's got some time to sell pizzas here and invite other vendors in. He will manage those vendors and make sure, he wants to make sure that whoever comes in is responsible, has a quality product, and he will be managing the other ones that will be here. The picnic tables, we intend to be on a raised platform. He wants to give it more of a a nautical feel, like a deck sort of thing. It hasn't been perfectly designed yet, but we've designated a spot and showed the number of seating. The parking accommodates the 3 vendors. I believe it's 1 per the vendor space, plus 3 or 4, I don't recall, but we meet that requirement for the number of parking spaces. We hope to reutilize the well on site, but each one of these trucks has its own water system, its own wastewater system, its own energy, propane tanks, whatever it needs. They're autonomous. They're pack in, pack out. Any trash that's generated at the site, there will be bins on the site for the patrons to use to throw things away. And since we've coordinated with Ledge Light Health District, we cannot connect to the existing septic system, so therefore we're going to have to bring in portable toilets. And we've gotten feedback from Ledge Light Health District, and they did not identify that they had any concerns or issues with such, as long as the septic system was abandoned properly. We hope to reuse the well that's on the site, pending certification from the Department of Health that it can be used as a public well to serve the public. If it can't be used, once again, these are all autonomous. They'll bring potable water and things to cook with, whatever they need, to the site. Ideally, Bob would hook up, along with, the electrical and communications on the site, to each one of these pad sites, also have a water service to each one or some spigots to facilitate the use and not have to bring water to the site. So we hope that will be feasible once we get there. In addition to the comments we received from DOT, we also got some comments from DEP. They wanted to make sure, since this isn't a high flood hazard, sounds like there's a theme this evening, we don't have any permanent structures that need to be elevated. Since these vehicles all can evacuate from the site, the DEP recommended that anything that's permanent, such as the platform, be anchored down appropriately, which we intend to fully do and make sure it meets code requirements for such. Everything else on the site, if it can't be tied down and, might be able to become a projectile in a storm event, will have to be removed from the site. As such, we've filed a draft evacuation and emergency plan per the DEP's recommendation, and we've provided that to the commission and to staff. I have not written one of those before, but we had a good template to go by, and it was all pretty standard things about making sure that when you leave the site, you're evacuating to higher ground and making sure that things are taken off site, and anything that's left on site is tied down appropriately. The trash bins will be secured and be enclosed per the regulations. As I mentioned, there'll be portable bathrooms on site for the patron use. The DOT did make some comments about the parking lot, and we added some stop bars, stop signs, made sure the signage, we did a sightline plan, which was submitted in your package as well, to verify that vehicles could see in both directions based on the speed of the road, and that the signage did not interfere within the sightline triangle. I believe we provided the anticipated hours of operation. I'm having trouble finding those, Bob. Here we go. Basically, you're going to be open from lunchtime to the evening hours. We put hours of 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. By and large, this is going to be out since it's an outside venue. It's going to be more seasonal, and hopefully light. It's going to be light, getting lighter later, and so people can stay out and enjoy the weather and things will be lit by by the sun, as opposed to having to bring in any formal lighting. We do propose to put a canopy over the deck to keep people out of the elements. Should they decide to stay in inclement weather or stay out of the sun. We did meet with the fire chief and the fire marshal and did field some of their comments. I believe those are also in your package, but basically they wanted unfettered access from the road to those vendors should there be an emergency, so that must remain unblocked by any type of apparatus, any facilities. So that'll just be the open lot, and there's plenty of space to navigate through to get to the vendors in the back. Since there would be cooking apparatuses and wood-fired pizzas, they were concerned about potential fire hazard because of which, and Bob had identified to me that he has spark arresters on all of his on his wood-fired pizza trailer, so that the embers can't escape and start the anything on fire, especially since it probably gets pretty dry and arid, even though it's a tidal wetland. There's a lot of brushy and dry grasses back there. So as such, everything will be licensed here by the Department of Health as required, and have to go through the fire marshal. I believe they regulate some of the aspects of the food trucks along with the health department, as well as some of the other site amenities. With respect to stormwater, we're not increasing the impervious area actually by those houses coming down. Not an increase in any of the impervious. So there were no comments on by the town engineer. And since this is not any permanent structures, I believe that there wasn't any significant concern for that. I believe I think the one comment was regarding sediment erosion control when the installation of these concrete pads go in for the ADA spaces and the vendors themselves, that we put in some appropriate erosion controls in those areas for the minimal disturbance that'll happen there. The DOT did have a comment regarding the parking lot, making sure that there wouldn't be a lot of, since it's a gravel lot, that there'd be dirt and mud being tracked into the road. They suggested that it be paved, but we feel strongly that it'd be much better to leave it as a crushed stone, a gravel lot with crushed stone over it. I think that's been done in plenty of places in Stonington, Mystic area, and there's no issues with tracking dirt into the road systems. So we are hopeful that they will take that into consideration, and that you will as well, as part of this application to this commission. Bob, did I miss anything, or did you want to add anything before I turn it over for question? Bob is here. If you have any questions specific, he was going to bring some pizza, but we didn't want to, appear to be bribing anybody, but hopefully he'll end up in this spot and you can go enjoy it there. And if there's any questions or anything I missed, please let me know.
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple questions, if I may.
Feel free.
I have a couple questions. I guess I'll kind of start at the beginning with the entrance and exits there. As I understand it, there's not going to be somebody permanently there, like during the days when there are not food trucks there. So is there going to be a gate there to keep people from pulling in and using the site on their own when you're not there?
There isn't a gate there now, and you do get the occasional person stopping there to, of course, you have to stop to use their phone or something. I've seen people pull off the highway. I guess it's something that could be considered, but it's relatively just kind of open. We're going to be formalizing it with curbs that will formalize each of the two curb cuts ins and outs with some traffic control. I don't think there's any plan. We did not make any plan to put any gates up.
Okay. And the only reason I ask is because you're going to be having in the back raised picnic tables with a canopy, and people who may not understand, they may think it's a park.
This is not a public place.
Right, and they may go there and do that, so I would be concerned about that.
Did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I was actually gonna visit that if it became a problem, then I was gonna put one of those, just a simple rolling gate,
Yeah.
Slide across and slide it in that way, because we wouldn't want people using it. So I wouldn't know, I wasn't planning on doing that up front, but it was definitely on my radar if it was an issue.
I think it probably would become
Yeah,
an issue, especially once you have picnic tables up there and you have the marsh behind there and people are gonna go,
Yep.
you got the ospreys back there, people go look at
Scenic
that.
overlook.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
so if you're not gonna have somebody there on site every day, then it would make sense, I think.
So
to
I
have
100%
that.
agree, and I'm concerned with that. I'm gonna have these cameras, but I won't be on, readily available if I have
Right.
to. I have a good relationship with the neighbors, so I think that's always, they'll have eyes on for me also.
Okay,
That's been a conversation I've had already, so.
okay,
So I'm not against the gate if it becomes a problem.
okay.
For my own personal protection
And then on the same vein then, you have not proposed any kind of lighting at all, additions for either the parking lot or the area or even where the picnic tables are? No.
So ideally, I just want to operate dawn to dusk,
I just worry,
And then
I know, I drive by there a lot, and,
Yeah.
dusk, it can get dark, and that
Yeah.
fog comes in, and you can't see your hand in front of your face, let alone, where you're walking to, especially somebody not being there. I would think some kind of lighting, at least to guide people, either in the parking lot or, the walkways,
So the-
might be
Yep.
something you'd want
Straight
to
patio
consider.
lights that I have, they illuminate pretty well. That's the extent that I was going to extend it.
Yeah, and something that illuminates down,
Yeah.
obviously, we don't want to
Right.
increase any light
So
pollution.
that was on my agenda also.
Okay. And then another question on I know you mentioned your food truck has all the fire suppressant, everything, but you mentioned other vendors, so they would be required to have the same fire suppression on their trucks before they could operate there?
Oh, right, they have to be licensed through the normal procedures through
Okay.
Ledge Light and, right, so they have to come to me with.
All their
with
licensing?
Or they're not even, and I'm gonna vet, I've been doing this for 17 years, and I have a pretty good pulse of who I want in there.
Okay.
To represent me and represent what I'm trying to do there, so I'm not gonna have anybody in there that I wouldn't want, I don't think would hold to my standards.
Okay.
So they already have to have their own
Right.
business going to that point.
Okay.
So absolutely.
There is a note on the plan that stipulates that the fire marshal needs to,
Approve.
they have to meet all the fire code and
Okay,
the fire
I just
marshal.
wanted to make sure
Now,
of that.
Obviously, that can
Things
get
it's out of his
lost
control.
but
Right.
operationally, Bob is aware of it,
I
and
think they need
he's
that
going to be
approval through Ledge Light first, too.
I believe
They
so.
can't get the approval
Okay.
through Ledge Light, they don't want approval through their.
Okay. The other question I had also, I just kind of went right out of my head. How'd that happen? Live music. So there's not going to be any music of any kind?
I can't say that. I have a little Bluetooth radio, but it's not anything more than that. I'm not looking to have any live music.
Okay, so you would be okay if we stipulated there'd be no live music?
Oh, yeah.
Or,
that's not-
you know,
That's 100%.
okay.
Is that, I think the language in the regulation is live amplified music, right?
Amplified, correct.
If someone
Live
with an
amplified,
acoustic
that's correct.
guitar comes out, it's
That's fine.
generally okay?
Yeah, as long as we're not,
Okay.
no heavy metal.
Sometimes, but that's not looking for that right.
Yeah, right.
Those
Any
are the
other
questions I had, sorry.
Or a Bluetooth speaker.
I'm confused, where does electricity come from? I see you're removing poles, but where does it come in off the street?
There's a pole, yeah, there we go. You might not be able to see it. There are actually a couple poles, I think.
Well, I see two are being removed, existing poles.
So those poles are actually I got confused too.
Oh.
The DOT said you need to remove the telephone poles. They meant the ones that are laying on the ground that were delineating the parking area. So those are gonna come out, we're gonna put in formal curbing.
Right.
But the pole that we're gonna utilize is right here. And I don't show it on the plan, but there'd be an electrical undergrounding that would bring
The
to.
houses
That-
were served too, so there's
So that was
gotta be power.
that was my question, is it going to be underground burial wires to the various sites of the trucks?
Yes, that's the intent. But once again, these trucks do have their own generators and power, but it would be better to have it on site so they don't have to utilize those.
Right. Well,
Yep.
they might like their happy lights up.
Yeah.
If we're gonna put lights up, then yes, and
Yeah.
we need some power outlets as well.
No alcohol, correct? How about the tent, canopy? Frequently, we stipulate those get
Can I just
stricken.
revisit that? I just want to, for the record.
Can you use the
I'm
microphone? I
not-
can't quite hear you, sir.
The alcohol. I'm not looking to have alcohol. I do
Right.
have my alcohol permit, catering permit, but I'm not looking to provide that.
Okay.
Down the road, I might want to revisit that, but that's, that'll be down the road.
You'd have to
But
come
it's not on the agenda for at least, it's far down the road, if it even
Right.
comes up.
Understood, thank you. And then the canopy itself, I know with Dog Watch and other places, we've stipulated they come down, I don't know,
Right.
after Halloween or, so there's
Yeah,
some such date,
Yeah.
and then can be put back up.
That would be fine. And that also, I believe, goes through the fire marshal's office as well.
Yeah, because
But
otherwise,
if you stipulate otherwise on the dates, I don't think you have an issue with that,
okay,
correct?
I didn't see, they stipulated it also? I didn't see that.
No, there was no stipulation
Okay.
that we have been provided thus far.
Okay.
So if there is one that you would like to impose this evening, we'll entertain it.
Okay, thank you. That's
Thank
it
you.
for me.
No further questions? Anyone else?
The bathroom, will that always be there? I know it's portable, but will that, if there's no event going on, will the bathroom be there?
Yes, I assume, because my plan is to buy a restroom trailer and leave it there and have it locked. So that would be the thought process, but up until
How
then.
is that gonna look like? I guess,
Oh,
I
they're.
wouldn't want
they're-
like one of those
they're very-
porta johns there.
Okay, yeah. So I might start off, it's not, I don't think it's required to have a bathroom, to have porta potties there. I'm just doing it for a service for my staff and myself and the customers. So, the looks of the plastic ones are the plastic ones, the construction, but I'm looking to buy a trailer that's a restroom trailer that people have at their weddings, that they're up, they're
Right.
visually appealing. You can't tell from the outside it's a bathroom, it looks like a regular enclosed trailer.
Okay, so,
yeah.
and with the trash at the end of the night, who, say if your group isn't there, who empties that? Who takes that? Who disposes of that?
Right, so the trucks will have their own, just like camping, bring it in, they bring in, whatever they bring in, they'll take out. As far as the patrons, I'm gonna have to be responsible for and delegate that to whoever I feel is the truck that's gonna be in charge, or whoever's there that night, if I'm personally not there, or my company's not there selling pizzas, it'll be my staff. But it'll be a truck that I will lead, I'm not gonna, that's why I'm vetting whoever comes in.
Okay.
So I have to
Won't
make
be
sure I
left
count
till
on them.
overnight.
To treat it like it's their own. Because if they don't, then they won't be welcome back, type
Okay.
thing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, yep.
Bennett, any questions?
Just a quick one. Obviously, with the Hounds next door, would you guys do any sort of collaboration with them, or is that for wedding venues, or?
So, so a couple things. Clay, if I don't mind, he's the one that actually got the ball rolling with me purchasing the property. So we already have some things, he's tied in with the dog watch, obviously, so there's a lot of things going on with that. But I've already been hired by a couple different brides for their wedding, and we talked about doing, once we get approval, once we're up and running, about co-branding and co-promoting and supporting each other. So absolutely, yeah. He's been a big driving force. So.
And with that, would you have any sort of pathway sort of connecting the properties? You know, obviously lit or well-marked.
Yep.
Some people are marking out onto Route 1 and then come
Yep,
back
so I'm
in.
hoping to have on the edge, a sidewalk or some type of, something to have a nice, easy walkway to the, to each other's property, yes. His venue is a little further back, so I don't know about that aspect of it, but the actual connection, I plan on having an easy access with his approval, his recommendation also. Yep.
I have a question to follow up on that then. So if you were to have such functions, that people would be bringing alcohol onto your property?
No, not from there. Their liquor license, they can't bring alcohol outside of their venue. So,
Okay,
no,
just
sorry.
wanted to make that clear.
Yeah.
So.
The police commission brought up the same concerns with the neighboring properties and the popularity of this, we hope it is. And we would work with their neighbors to make sure there's safe passage and lit properly, as you've noted. So.
Okay. One thing, if you don't mind me saying, I apologize. It's more important to me, I want to be more family friendly. Okay. So I want to have yard games, I want to have those, things like that. That's my vibe for that, not in the other direction.
Okay.
How many employees per trailer do you envision?
So 2, I can't speak for other people's businesses. I only have 2. And we can do a very high volume with that. Some trucks might want, at least 2. I think 2 per, yeah. I can't imagine.
Would they be coming in their own vehicles, or would they share a space?
Are you talking about like personal vehicles that get there?
Well, they have to park, right? They have to
Well,
park.
unless it's actually a truck. They might be driving a food truck, so they will travel inside the food truck. Or they pull with a trailer, or a truck and a trailer.
So the vendor trucks don't remain on site, they come out every day?
Yeah, they're not staying.
Okay.
No one's welcome to stay.
All right, so we can assume that there are no employees occupying any
No.
of these spaces?
No.
And could you just run through the parking calculation for me one more time? How you arrived at 12 spaces? Or maybe you didn't have a parking calculation?
No, we did. It may not show up on my plan here, Chuck, Mr. Chair, but let me see if I can find it. I know it's in here somewhere regarding how many are required. I believe it's 1 space per vendor plus 3 patrons, if my memory serves.
Okay. But it is
correctly.
derived from the zoning regulations?
Correct.
Okay.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
As long as it's derived from the zoning regulations. In your opinion, do you think with 6 tables and some other things, to encourage people to kind of hang on site while their food is consumed, that is adequate for 3 vendor trucks, just based on your experience?
So if we were to measure it by how many seating spaces, if we were to say this was a traditional restaurant, I believe it's each picnic table, 6 people to a picnic table, I think. 6, I think we ran the numbers, 6 by 6, that's 36, and you divide that by, usually restaurants are either 3 or 4 per.
Right.
So that's 9 spaces if you did it by, if I did my math right, 6 by 6 is 36. If you divide it by 3, that's 12 spaces.
Right.
So even if you go by the restaurant use, that's adequate enough.
Okay.
I think if this place becomes popular and we hope that Bob is, there might, there could be times when that parking lot is full. And there's obviously no parking along Route 1. For the sake of not going against any zoning regulations, yes, there's parking in the neighboring parcels and that might facilitate this, but I don't know if that's allowed per se per the regulation. But
It's easy in, easy out, so if there's no parking,
Then they go out.
they won't be able to stay, so.
we meet code requirements, so yes.
That's fine.
If we,
I accept the explanation, thank you.
thanks very much.
Okay, any further questions? Yes, Mary Ellen.
Do you have any proposed measures in place for marsh protection, either from the patrons or the patrons from falling into the marsh, especially little kids who see water and green?
No, just letting it vegetate where the edge of the vegetation, it's kind of scraggly and hasn't been taken care of very well, but we weren't going to propose anything except not to touch it and let it grow back. If there was some other consideration for rehabilitating along that perimeter edge, but we'd entertain it.
I think, if I can, I think you're asking like to prevent little kids or somebody from
Yeah,
going in there,
yeah.
something to, delineate,
So,
hey,
like-
this is where you stop.
Like a fence of,
Yeah.
or a split rail
Yeah.
fence or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
anything from that, from either trash growing in, and I appreciate the fence enclosure, but kids will walk towards the green and
Yeah.
high touch, as you point to your assistant in the back.
I apologize, I did have, so they make these portable fences. They're not going to be impeded. So that was my thought, is to definitely enclose it around, even from the front parking lot. So just for my own comfort level, and if I was a patron, I'd be highly concerned with that. So that was my thought, but it's not going to be permanent. They could be moved, that type of thing. So yes, the answer is absolutely yes. You see them at weddings, you see them, they're crowd control, they're just real easy, movable things, so yes.
Any comments from staff?
No, I think Sergio largely covered the comments that were provided from, through the response summary. We did add the E&S control item that was requested by DEEP as a stipulation. Also, just the standard DOT and review stipulations, as
Right.
that project's not approved through them yet. Other than that, no comments from my office.
Thank you, Clifton. If there are no other questions from the commission, we'll move into the public portion of the public hearing. Have you concluded your presentation, sir?
Yes.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
So the way this works for the public's purpose is we don't have anyone who has signed up to speak, but I will ask for anyone who would like to speak in favor or opposition. Please come up and state your name and address for the location, or name and address for the record, and make your comments.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ben Tamsky, 5 Edgemont Street, Mystic. One really quick comment, just to piggyback on what Mary Ellen brought up with fencing. I've been to the food trucks down in New Haven, which are great, the taco trucks, et cetera. There's trash everywhere. And I assume that this operator will be on top of that situation, but I'm a little bit concerned about just on a windy day, trash blowing into the marsh. And I think that's perhaps some kind of snow fencing or some sort of barrier to keep trash out of the marsh would be a good idea. Thanks.
Good suggestion. Thank you, Ben. Anyone else wish to speak in favor or against this application? Does the applicant wish any rebuttal time? Okay. Again, I'll ask if anyone else wants to speak in either favor or against this application. Hearing none, what's the commission's pleasure on closing this public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to close the public hearing for this application.
Motion is made. Thank you. Ryan, is there a second?
I second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The public hearing is closed. What's the commission's pleasure on application of the Courier Group?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure, because I know we had 4 recommended stipulations from the staff, and I think I counted an additional 3, perhaps, that we wanted to add. The no live amplified music. I also believe we should add the marsh fencing be considered as.
I agree.
So that would be number 6. And then also lighting, walkway lighting to be installed. I think we had agreed with that as well, so that'd be number 7. Were there any others that I missed?
Canopy dates.
Canopy dates, yes, that was the other one. Okay, canopy dates. And that would be, the canopy would only be up from when?
Tax date is Halloween, I don't know.
Well, did you, I mean, I guess we can't ask.
April 15th?
Yeah, April 15th to October 31st. Okay.
How many stipulations was that, Ben?
That would be 8 total.
You through?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
Okay, so,
Oh, did I miss one?
No, I'll add regarding the live amplified music,
yes,
that
was
would, no, that would require a separate special use permit or an update to the special use permit, so you don't need to stipulate that.
Oh, okay, so I can take that one out, okay. Cool. So
okay,
that
so
would be
there's
a total
seven
of 7.
stipulations.
Correct.
A motion's been made to 7 stipulations by Ryan. Thank you, Ryan. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Seconded by Gary. Thank you, Gary. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, we have the next one.
Next public hearing is Town of Stonington, PZC, zoning regulation text amendment. Clifton, would you explain?
Do you need me to read again?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Let's
sure.
read the legal ad
Oh,
first.
no problem. A public hearing will be held on Tuesday, May 7, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Stonington Board of Education office located on 40 Field Street, Pawcatuck, Connecticut. Following application is scheduled to be heard. PZ2407RA, Town of Stonington, PZC zoning regulation text amendment application for amendments to ZR 5.1, 8.12.1, and 13.3.3 of the zoning regulations.
Thank you, Ryan. Who will present this application?
I will, sorry, I was writing down the last set of stipulations.
That's okay. You're excused.
Thank you. All right, so what's been provided, I didn't write up a formal report because I thought my memo would be sufficient. In working with Francisco from FHI Studio, since we passed phase 1 in October of 2023, we've slowly just come across minor updates or edits or things we missed or mistakenly had added to the regulations through that phase 1 process. A couple of them seemed more time-sensitive in resolving now instead of waiting through the entirety of Phase 2. So that's what the purpose of these amendments before you tonight are. There were originally 4 amendments that were proposed. In the revised memo, I've put a strike-through on Amendment 2 regarding residences for duplexes and triplexes requiring similar lot size requirements, either doubling or tripling based off the size of the, or based off the use of a duplex versus triplex. That actually is already located elsewhere in the regulations, so we don't need to address that. So I would just ask you to not consider the second recommended amendment. But I can go through them individually if you would prefer, and we can answer questions.
I think we all have them in the package, so unless anybody has any questions,
All right.
I'm not sure it's necessary. Is that okay with the commission?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
That conclude the presentation?
If you don't want me to talk about it, then I have nothing else to say.
No, it's not that I don't want you to. I mean, you can go on, you can go
No,
on as
no,
long
no,
as you
it's,
like.
no, I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. I don't want you to feel insulted in any way. Okay. Anyone have any questions of Clifton at all? I have no questions. We'll move to public input on this. Does anyone in the audience like to speak in favor or against this application by the Town of Stonington? Hearing none, what's the commission's pleasure on closing the public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I make a recommendation, make a motion to close the public hearing on this application.
Thank you, Ryan. A motion is made to close. Is there a second? Seconded by Gary. Thank you, Gary. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the town's application to amend the regulations as stipulated?
I think we have to close the public hearing, then vote on the...
I'm sorry, yes. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the 3 recommended amendments as submitted.
Motion has been made to approve the town's application for zoning regulation text amendment. And any conditions at all?
No.
No conditions. Thank you, Ryan. Is there a second? Seconded by Gary. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of approving the town's application for regulation text amendment as stipulated?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Anyone opposed? No one's opposed. Passes unanimously. Any questions on item 9 or 10?
No.
Do we have to vote on items 9 and 10?
Do we have to read them in?
No, what I've previously requested in the past meeting or two, with the new submittals, especially ones that are site plans, this would be the time for the commission to call for a public hearing if it so wants one, just per state statute. That would be the commission's pleasure, so they choose. I don't see a necessity for one, but, you know, that's something we can discuss.
I was going to bring up the topic, do we need to have a public hearing on it? You don't think it's...
In my opinion, no, but again, it's commission's
There
pleasure.
was a lot of public interest in what was going on, I mean, there's a previous application by this applicant. I don't think that prejudices whether it requires a public hearing or not. I think if it's a minor activity and it's your opinion that it doesn't, then, you know.
And we've slackened up on the PV5 zone, the parking regulations, so that shouldn't be an issue for public outcry.
Correct, yeah. We're currently receiving comments on the application from the various departments. There's nothing outstanding at the moment. The packet, or the information has been provided in your packets for that application.
Okay. So we're okay leaving that as a site plan application then?
Yes.
Okay. No other comments on items 9 and 10? Item 11 is adjournment. What's the commission's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion is made to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Passes unanimously. Meeting is concluded. Thank you.